everyone, today we'll be learning how to create this character from start to finish in Procreate. We'll be learning how to create hair, how to create clothing and shading. We'll also be learning how to create features such as eyes, cheeks, lips. We'll also be learning how to add shadows to some of our features. I really hope this course is useful for you all and you learn a lot. Please follow me for more videos on Procreate. What we first want to think about is the shape of our character and the shape of our character's face. So cartoons can have lots of different head shapes, and what we first want to do is just have a look at the different types of head shapes. So for example, you can have a classic circle, we can have a sort of long bean-shaped head, we can have a sideways bean-shaped head, we can have a sort of potato-shaped head, we can have a square shape if we wanted as well, have a sort of curved head shape. And what you just want to do first of all is just play around with the different types of shapes. So the first exercise will be to create lots of different types of shapes which you think will work well for a cartoon face. What we next want to do is look at the different types of features for our cartoon characters. I'm just going to unhide one of my layers. So here I've got lots of different types of eyes, eyebrows, noses and mouths for cartoon characters. And you can see you can really kind of choose any sort of design and any sort of style that you like. Say for example I wanted to choose just a simple kind of eye, I could choose this one. If I wanted to choose a sort of cheeky grin, I could choose this mouth shape. If I just wanted a funny sort of nose, I could choose this one. And just some bushy eyebrows. So you can have access to this image file where you'll have all different types of eyes, eyebrows, noses and mouths, and you can really just choose whichever one that you like. So what we next want to do is take these eyes, mouths, brows and noses, and we want to go back into our head shape. And what we want to do is, for each of these head shapes, we want to try a different style of eyes, a different style of nose, a different style of mouth and a different style of eyebrow. So for our first head shape, we can just choose a really simple eye, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we're just sketching for now. For my funny looking nose and just a set of lips. For my second shape, I want some evil looking eyes. And a funny looking nose. And a half grin. And I want to give him some bushy eyebrows. Make him look a bit more like a villain. And for this, I might just give some simple eyebrows here. And for my next shape, I'll do some googly eyes. Maybe a flat nose. Just a mouth. And what you want to do is take your head shape and add different sets of eyes, noses, mouths and eyebrows, and you want to start creating lots of different characters. So now I've got lots of different characters who all look a bit different with different features. And what you want to do is you want to have a look and see which of these characters you like. And if you're not happy with any of these characters, you don't have to keep any of them. You can start from scratch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this circle one up here. And I'm just going to change it around a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to click on your select tool and you want to go into freehand. And you want to just highlight this and press copy. And you can see here we've just got a layer with just our face that we've chosen. I'm just going to leave it to the side here. And what I want to do is create a new layer. Because I want to change this a little bit, what I want to do is I want to click on my inking and go into Studio Pen and change it to black. Put the brush size down to quite low. And I want to create a sort of oval shaped head for my character. And I just want some simple circle eyes. And this is just a sketch, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And I want to do some eyelashes on top. And I want a long sort of nose. And just some pouty lips. And then I want to do some eyebrows on top. So I'm just going to delete my original layer. And this is the layer that we've got. So this is just our sketch for our character face. What we next want to do is start adding some colour and start adding the shapes. What I want to do is add a new layer, and I want to choose a colour for my character. So I'm just going to go into these colour tones here, and I'm just going to pick a few colours. And what you first want to do is you want to click the colour of your character. So I'm going to choose this sort of creamy beige colour, and I'm just going to create a circle here, just fill it in. And then what I want to do is just move along slightly and create and add a few more shades of the same colour tone but a bit darker. So we're going to be using these colours for when we're shading in. Just going to keep, and we're going to rename this layer as Colour Palette Skin. So this is our colour palette for our skin tones. And what I want to do is create a new layer, and then I want to start working on my character. So what I next want to do is just move my first initial sketch layer to the side, and I want to click a new layer, and I want to click on my first initial skin shade, and I want to create a sort of oval shaped head for my character and just fill it in. What I next want to do is create a new layer, and I want to add my eyes now. So I want to go for a sort of chocolatey brown colour. So we've got our two eyes now. What we next want to do is create another layer and create some eyelashes. And I'm just going to draw my eyelashes. And I'm just going to draw some lines for the lashes here. Then we want to create another layer, and we want to draw our eyebrows now. What we next want to do is create our nose shape. And I'm just going to keep this clean and simple. And I just want to create my nose shape here. So here we've got our cartoon face shape. So I'm just going to get rid of my sketch layer for now. Just hide it here. And I'm just going to group all of these together. Just move it a little bit. Just make it a bit bigger so that we can all see it. What we next want to do is we want to add some shading to our face shape. So what I want to do is click a new layer, and I want to add some shading to the nose. So I'm going to just click on one of these darker shading palettes that we've got here. Kind of just want to add a bit of shading around the nose. It doesn't matter if you're not perfect with it, because we're just going to colour it in. What I want to do is make the transparency lighter. So if I go into opacity and put it as 33%, you can see I've just got a bit of shading on the nose. And I want to do the same thing for under the eyebrows. So I want to click on the new layer, go back into my colour. So I'm going to choose the second shading colour here. Under the eyebrows, I just want to create a sort of thick shade. And again, I just want to go into opacity and reduce it down to 33%. I think I'll leave it as 37. And I just want to add some shading again to under my eyelashes. So again, you want to click on one of your shading colours. What I'm going to do is just zoom in a tiny bit, and you want to just create a sort of arch shape and then colour it in. You want to do the same for this side. Just colour it in, zoom out, go into opacity and just reduce it. I want to reduce it down to 27. What you next want to do is add some shading to the face shape. So I want to click on my oval head shape, and just above it click on a new layer. Then I want to go and press clipping mask. This way when you shade, it will only shade on the head shape and it won't go outside the image. So I want to click on my next colour palette here, so the second one up here. What you want to do is I want to add some shading from the hairline to down here. And you can see here, if I zoom in, because we've put the clipping mask on, you can't go outside of the lines. So if we just create our shading and just fill this in, and you can just colour along. You can see I've got sort of shading here, and again I just want to go into the layer and just reduce it slightly. I also want to add some shading to the edge of the face as well. So again I want to click on a new layer, go into my head shape just above it. You can see automatically the clipping mask is applied to the new layer, and I just want to go into my shading again, the second one, and I just want to do some shading on the outside of the face, and I want to do a tiny bit under the chin as well. And again I just want to go into my layer and just make it slightly less opaque. So there we've got our shading for our cartoon character. What I next want to do is add some rosy cheeks to my character. So I want to go into my layers and add a new layer, and I want to click on a sort of light pastel pink shade, and I want to just create circles on either side of the nose, and I just want to fill these in. Then you want to click on opacity and just reduce it slightly as well. The next one to do is create your lips. So again, add a new layer and go into a dark sort of red colour. I'm just going to draw an outline. What I want to do is choose a lighter red and just fill this in. And I just want to move it slightly down here. So we've created all of our features now. What we next want to work on is the hair for our character. So with hair it's quite difficult because you want to add lots of different layers and lots of different colours for your hair. So what we want to do is click on a new layer. I'm just going to hide the colour palette skin for now. And what I want to do is choose some colours for my hair. So I want my character to have a sort of red toned hair. So I'm going to choose this orange/red colour for the main part of the hair. So again I'm just going to draw my colour palettes. And then I just want to choose some darker colours which I can work with. So these are the three colours I'll be working with for the hair. So what you want to do is click on a new layer. I want to click on the sketching and go into my pencil. And I just want to roughly sketch some hair shapes. So with hair you've got lots of different options. You can really do whatever you want with hair. We can run through a few examples. So if for example we wanted to just leave the hair as just down, we can just do a sort of poofy type of hair. I'm going to add some we could create a sort of hair that's got a ponytail. So again you want to just to come down. Here, and you can just have hair that comes down. You can have short hair if you wanted. Just to keep it sort of nice and short. So what I want to do for my character is I want to draw a bun for my character. So I'm just going to do a rough sketch of this first. So I want this sort of side parting to come down here. And I just wanted to go behind here, and we'll get to drawing our ears afterwards. And I just want to create a sort of rough kind of shape here. And I want to add a sort of bun shape here. So now that we've got a sketch down, we want to click on a new layer, and I want to click on this first orange shade that I've got, and I want to go into my inking and go into my studio pen. Then you just want to get some clean shapes here. Just draw over your sketch. And then you just want to fill in your layer. And I just want to get rid of my sketch layer underneath. So we've got our first base layer down. What we next want to do is create a new layer. And we want to click on our second colour up here. And we want to press on clipping mask again. What we want to do is just create some hair strands. So what I like to do is just go over the edge, round ones. I just like to follow the strands along and down. And it doesn't matter if it looks a bit messy now. You just want to get some strands in. And because you've kind of created this strand with all of these lines, you can fill these strands in now. So like here, I've just filled in the strand. I just want to go and just fill in some of these strands with my darker colour. So we've got our second dark shade in now. What we next want to do is create another layer. And we want to click on our darker shade now. So again, just go around and drawing some lines. And again, it doesn't really matter if it looks messy now, because it will start to come together once you've added in your colours. And again, what you want to do is just go in and just fill in some of these lines. Just fill these layers in, just fill these strands in. So here we've got our character with our character's hair, and you can see we've got lots of different strands and lots of different textures. What I next want to do is I'm going to create the ears now. So I want to choose my character's skin colour, and I just want to draw tiny ears on the side. And I want to click on a new layer and go back into my skin colour palettes and just choose my darker colour, go into my new layer, just add some details here. And I can just lower the transparency of this as well. So now we've got our character with her ears, hair and all the features. The next one to do is create our character's neck. So again, I'm going to click on the first shade in my skin colour palette. And what I want to do is just go and just draw a neck here. And your neck can be any shapes. It can be wide, it can be narrow. It's really up to you. I'm just going to create a sort of rectangle shape. I'm just going to fill this in. And I want to put this layer underneath my face shape layer. You can see here it just goes straight underneath. And if you sometimes think you've made it a bit wide, so like here I think I've made it a bit wide, I can go into freeform and you can just make it a bit, thinner. What I want to do is just above my neck layer, I want to create a new layer, press clipping mask, and I can just go into my shading colour, just add some shading to the neck. And again, just make the opacity a bit lighter. So we're finished with our character's face and neck now. What we want to do is group all of our features together. To group these, what you can do is you just want to move it to the right, each layer. So I'm going to leave out my colour palette layers. Do everything else. And at the top you can press group. And I'm just going to call this face and features. And I can just layer, group these, just call it like this one, colour palettes. And I can just get rid of my sketch layer now. I'm just going to hide the colour palettes for now. So what I want to do is go into my face and features, and what I can do is just make it smaller, just so I can add some clothing now. And I want to sketch a jumper. So what I like to do is I find doing clothing quite difficult and quite tricky. So what I like to do is just find a picture of the item of clothing that I want to draw, and then I just like to insert it into Procreate. So just want to go to add, insert a photo. And I've got this jumper photo here, which I want to use as a sort of reference. So what I want to do is click on a new layer. And you want to just do a rough sketch of your clothing. So I'm going to start off doing the ribbed neck section. And then I want to just sort of go down. And I've just drawn a quick sort of rough sketch of the jumper shape. Once I've created my sketch, I want to click on a new layer and I want to start drawing my jumper. So I want to choose a colour and I'm going to choose a sort of mustard colour for my jumper. And what I'm going to do is just go over, then I want to just go back into inking, change it to Studio Pen. What I want to do is just go over this jumper shape and just start creating some sharp lines. What we want to do is start adding the details. So I want to click on a darker mustard colour and I'm going to just start adding the details to the ribbing on the arms. I've got some ribbing on this arm up here as well. I want to add some to the collar as well. What we next want to do is add a new layer. And just the parts you can see we've got sort of creases like here, here, here. We want to start adding these lines in. So we know we have some darkness up here. Again, you've got some darkness, some shadowing in this area. Just some creasing up here. Then you've got a bit of this area here. We want to just add sort of shadow in this area section as well. So what we want to do with this layer is we want to go into our airbrush tool. We just want to sort of smudge your layers slightly. Just so these dark shadow areas don't look so prominent. What I want to do is just go into opacity and just reduce it slightly here. What I next want to do is create a new layer and I want to add some, so you can see here you've got sort of white sort of shadows in here as well. I want to just start adding these sort of white shadows. So I want to go into my white colour and I'm just going to start drawing these shadow areas. So when where these creases sort of meet. You've got a lot of kind of like white shadow at the bottom and under the armpit section. It's quite bright up there. And in this sort of arm area bit here, this sort of line just sort of goes across, I feel like. Again, what you want to do is go into your smudging tool and you just want to smudge the edges so it's not as harsh. I just want to turn these white shadows into a lighter sort of mustard colour. And you just want to turn the opacity down here. What we next want to work on is drawing our arms and hands. So I want to click on my skin colour. And for this arm, like the picture, we just wanted to go behind our character. So we can just draw a quick rough outline. And I want to position it underneath the jumper. And again, if you just want to make it a bit narrow, which I want to do. And then I want to click on a new layer and press clipping mask and go into my colour palettes again and choose this shade. And just here, where it's a bit darker, just shade it in and reduce the opacity down a little bit. Then just draw like a line there. Click on the layer again, click on my skin colour, the first one, and with this one, because it's sort of a full length sleeve, we just want a tiny bit of the arm, and then we just want to draw the hands. I just want to click on a new layer, go into this darker shade, just add the details of the hands. Again, just turn the transparency down. So there we've got our jumper now. So I'm just going to get rid of this reference image that we have. So here we've got our character wearing her jumper, and I'm just going to group these together and just rename this as jumper and hands. And for the trousers, I'm just going to keep it very, very simple. Just draw a pair of flared jeans on my character. So I'm going to choose this blue colour and just start drawing sort of flared shapes. And what you want to do is just make sure you just want to curve this bit here. And then just fill this in and put this underneath our jumper layer. I'm just going to go into my eraser, just make this slightly more straight. Make it slightly more straight. And again, you want to add some sort of shading, so click on a new layer, go into a darker blue, and primarily where you get sort of creases, sort of in the knee area, and at the bottom here with the ankles, and you get some here in the crotch area as well. Now I just want to turn the opacity down. And I want to click on a new layer and choose a slightly lighter blue and just add some lighter shading in these areas here. And really it's just about you kind of thinking where would the light hit and where wouldn't it hit. So here in this sort of area up here the light wouldn't hit because the jumper would be covering it slightly, so we wouldn't put any sort of light shade in there. We'd want to primarily focus it on the bottoms here. And then again, just turn the opacity down. Just get your blending tool, just blend the edges out. So I'm just going to blend this dark creases, shadows that we've got here as well. Just blend these out. So we've got our trousers now. So I'm just going to group this. Just right. Trousers layer. The next thing I want to work on is the shoes. So I'm going to choose sort of brown colour for the boots that I'm going to be drawing. I'm just going to give it a bit of a heel. Just fill this in. I just want to move this underneath the trousers. Again, I'm just going to add a new layer, which is a bit of a darker shadow, just for the press clipping mask. I just want a darker shadow just at the bottom here, and then reduce this down, and a new layer. Just choose a sort of lighter brown, and then just turn the opacity down as well. And what I want to do is just group these layers together and press flatten, and then I just want to press flatten. Then I can just copy this layer, and if I paste it and flip it horizontally just underneath here. So here we've got our character with her jumper, the trousers and the shoes. I'm going to add some last finished touches here. So I want to click a new layer, and I want to zoom in, and I'm just going to add some earrings for my character. So put the brush size down, and I just want a sort of earring here. Same layer, just go for a yellow, and just do a sort of ring up there. I want to add a new layer, and I want to choose a blue, and I want to add a little headband here. I just want to add a sort of small headband. And what we can do is just go into background, just change the colour of our background slightly to pink.